Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 2 of our series on setting social success for teens with autism. And today I'm going to talk about social boundaries. I'm doing something a little different. I decided to do a PowerPoint instead of just having my face and my voice. So let's get started. Okay, so to be successful in social settings, we have to know what boundaries are. What are boundaries? Why are they important in our social interactions and our social situations with our friends, our family? What happens if you don't have social boundaries? What can happen? And what are some ways to establish good social boundaries? To start, our definition of what a boundary is. A boundary is something that fixes a limit or an extent of something. They are like guidelines, rules, or limits. Boundaries protect things such as our properties. For an example, property means your home, your car, or a landmass. It could be the United States, Canada, Mexico, different countries. It also protects time. An example of a boundary protecting time goes with your school schedule or your work schedule, deadlines, which means things that are due at a certain time, or routines, like what time you wake up generally, what time you eat lunch, when your favorite show comes on TV, or when you go to bed. It also protects things like people. For an example, the way it protects people is in our personal space, like in touching, like who, how, where, or when you touch or someone touches you. It also protects our mental boundaries, which are in our brains, in our thoughts, our opinions about things, and our beliefs. It affects our emotional boundaries, which are how we feel. Happy, sad, excited, scared. And it helps you make choices in how you believe you should think or feel. And then we have social media. It protects you in social media situations. It helps you decide what you should post public on social media and what you should keep private. And some of the ways that your social media can be protected is using your privacy tools. So now that we know what boundaries are, we need to know why they are important in our social settings and with our friends and our families. We know, or we should know, that boundaries help us approach making friends. So if you don't have good social boundaries, it's going to be hard for you to make and meet people that can be your friends or your acquaintances. An acquaintance is someone who is not really your best friend, not someone that you would tell all of your secrets to, but it's somebody you know and you generally see all the time. Acquaintances are people that you go to school with, that you have a class with, but that maybe you don't sit right next to, or it can be your coworker, someone you see on a regular basis, but they're not close to you in a sense that you should share personal information with them. Boundaries also help us reach what we want, our desires, our needs, and it helps us understand what our feelings are about certain situations. And boundaries also help us take care of ourselves emotionally, which is how we feel about things, physically, like do we allow people in our personal space, and even spiritually. So if someone is trying to hurt you in a way that you don't feel is right in your spiritual beliefs, we have to set boundaries for that as well. So what happens if you don't have a social boundary? Now that you know what they are and why we need them, you might be wondering, do I have them? And what happens if I don't? If you don't have a social boundary, you may not be able to say no to someone or accept no from other people. Having a social boundary understands that you can say no to people if you don't want to do it, and you can stand firm on that. And also, if someone tells you no, you have to know that their no means exactly that. They don't want to be involved in what you're asking them to do. If you don't have social boundaries, you might not be able to value your own opinion, which means that if you're in a social situation with your friends or acquaintances and they start talking about something that maybe you don't really agree with, if you're not sure about your social boundary, it might be hard for you to be able to stand up and say, well, I really believe this way. And that goes right along with this. You might compromise or give up what you believe in to help please other people. And that starts being really important in social groups. This is what we call peer pressure and giving in to peer pressure. And then this might lead you to, you might share personal information at the wrong times on social media when you shouldn't do that, and at a party or even an informal gathering that maybe you don't need to be talking about personal things that have happened. It might not be appropriate. It's a cycle. So now that you know a little bit about what boundaries are, why we need them, if you have them, and why it's important to have them, now we're going to talk about what are some ways to establish good social boundaries. So the first thing is you want to trust and believe. You must trust and believe in yourself. You absolutely know what's best for you. When you realize this and practice this on a daily basis, then you will learn to take care of yourself mentally, by the way you think, physically, by the way you allow people in your personal space, emotionally, the way you feel, and spiritually, what you believe in. Another way is to understand and accept. If you understand and accept that your needs and feelings are as important as other people's needs and feelings, then you have started to build a personal social boundary. Sometimes putting other people before yourself is important, but not all the time. For an example, if you are in a situation where maybe you're changing classes at school and you see someone that has dropped their books and their papers are all over the floor, and everybody only has 5 or 7 minutes to get to their class, people are just walking all around that person. Sometimes it might be better for you to think about, can I help this person quickly so we can both get to class on time, rather than just rushing past that person. Can also be in a situation where if you're at work and you are scheduled for your day off, and maybe you have 2 days off, and your coworker comes to you and says, can you please cover my shift? Will you work on one of your days off for me because I have an important thing that I have to take care of? And if you feel like that person would do that for you, then it might be a good idea to take one of your days off and work for someone else. However, You don't want people to take advantage of you. And learning to say no when you really want to say no is important. Okay? So you can offer to work for someone or be the person that always thinks of someone else and being kind, but don't let other people take take advantage of your good nature and your desire to help other people. Learn to say no. It's okay to say no. And it's really a good social boundary. And last, take responsibility. If you take responsibility for how you let others treat you, then you will start to feel better about social situations and you'll feel better about yourself. When you let people know what is acceptable in your life and what you are willing to do or not do, then you are able to go through your day and not feel scared or anxious or sad or depressed or guilty. And speak up when you feel like you are being treated unfairly. Always advocate for yourself. Advocate means standing up for yourself, telling others when you don't feel like that maybe you were treated as fairly as what you think you should be. Okay? So thank you so much for joining me in this quick slideshow of week 2, social boundaries. Next week, for week 3, we will be talking about building successful peer relationships. So if you enjoyed this, please like, follow, and subscribe this channel and click the notification bell so that you can be notified when another video pops up. Thanks again. Bye.